Dear Diary, it's been a whirlwind few weeks for Arsenal as we continue to dominate in all competitions. We managed to beat Manchester City over 2 legs to reach the EFL Cup final against our arch rivals Manchester United. It's going to be a tense affair, but I have faith in the team to bring home the trophy. Since last time, we've also picked up victories against Middlesbrough in the Premier League, Bordeaux Glimt in the Champions League, and Swindon Town in the FA Cup. It's been a great run of form, and I'm proud of the team's consistency and determination. But there's no time to rest on our laurels as we have a tough challenge ahead of us. Today we take on third place Newcastle in the Premier League, and I know they'll be looking to close the gap between us. And then we have a crucial match against Celtic in the Champions League. If we drop points, we may have to go through the first knockout round instead of heading straight into the round of 16, so it's vital that we come away with a win. During all this, we're also approaching transfer deadline day. Kylian Mbappe is officially joining us next season on a free transfer, which is fantastic news for the club. However, it looks like Zinchenko is leaving for Real Madrid as they've put in a £7.5 million bid. Maybe we need to go shopping for a replacement. Until next time. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 88 of FMOE here on Shaun Does FM with Arsenal. I hope you are doing well, and coming up today we play the 2 games at the end of January before we do head in to deadline day. First up we take on Newcastle in these days, a 2nd versus 4th clash, albeit that is because we have a game in hand over Liverpool, and off the back of that we're actually coming back for that last game in the Champions League phase, because as mentioned in that intro, if we don't win it, there is a chance we could actually fall out of that top 8 and might have to enter in that first knockout round instead of making our way through immediately to the round of 16. So those are the 2 games coming up in today's episode, as well as potentially some transfer deadline day business. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated, but hopefully that intro caught you guys up on all the results that we have had since last episode, where we did take on both Aston Villa and Manchester United in the Premier League. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. It did also include the initial stages of us putting a bid in for Kylian Mbappe, and we have got our man. He is joining us at the start of next season from Paris Saint-Germain. He turned down a new contract with those guys, as well as Barcelona and Real Madrid. One of the main reasons it said he did choose us is because we were at the time sitting on top of the Premier League. It does make me wonder whether if I had those La Liga clubs loaded for their league in the save, if he would have made the same decision. But nonetheless, Kylian Mbappe will join us for next season, and if we don't win the Champions League or Premier League this season, that should make sure we are a real chance of doing so the next time around. And also in terms of transfer news, Alexander Zinchenko, his contract expires at the end of this season. As mentioned, he wasn't going to sign a new one. Real Madrid have put in a bid of £7.5 million, which is a lot less than what I was hoping for. But we are going to cash in on him while we can, and we'll see if we can do some business with around about £15 million to play with on transfer deadline day, potentially to get in a replacement, albeit we do have one player currently on loan away from the club at Crystal Palace, and that is Bojan Vaskovic. As you can see, he's actually been improving quite a bit as a winger at Crystal Palace, but if we did bring him back to replace Zinchenko, because I do believe with that potential, we might not be able to find anyone better than that anyway, and he is already owned by the club, so it does mean we can save some transfer budget for next season, which could be quite useful with the amount of wage that is going to come out with Mbappe joining the club as a wing-back. Not too bad either, obviously not as good as someone like Zinchenko, but with that contract situation, it might be a good bit of business to bring Vaskovic back from Crystal Palace and be back up to Kieran Tierney for the rest of this season. But we'll see what does happen over the course of deadline day at the end of today's episode. But before then, we take on Newcastle in a game where hopefully if we can win, we could go back on top of the Premier League table, albeit it does depend on what Liverpool do on the same match day, but we do have that game in hand. But Newcastle, 4th on the table, so definitely a team we do need to respect, but at home, hopefully, this is one in which we can pick up a good result. And in terms of us going into this one, we have not many injury concerns. Just Moise Poulet is still out for a further 9 days to 3 weeks with those sprained knee ligaments. So to be fair, we have done quite well without him to pick up as many wins as we have, including, of course, against Manchester City in the semi-finals of the EFL Cup. It was actually looking quite dicey for us in the home leg, as we did get 2 late goals in the second half to get that one to a draw, and then having played a quite rotated team in the FA Cup third round, beating Swindon Town 8-1, it did mean that most of our first team players were actually available for that second leg, and thankfully came back late yet again after Erling Haaland put City 1-0 up. We did grab 3 goals late in that second half to make sure we are going through to a final at the start of March, where we will take on Manchester United, hoping for some revenge against those guys after they did beat us in yesterday's episode. But that will be our first chance for a trophy here since we have come to Arsenal. But as I said, we've done quite well to win some of these games without Moise Poulet, with the likes of Patino and Sambi Lokonga stepping in during that most recent patch, and hopefully that does continue over these next few games and the start of February as well. But as I said, that is our only injury concern going into today's episode. Hopefully it stays that way, and we'll come back shortly with the team sheets as we take on Newcastle in the Premier League. And here are the team sheets for this first game of today's episode. As I said, pretty close to full strength, but the only change that we have had to make, Patino comes in for Pare, and also in fact Zinchenko over Tierney, as he is quite injury prone still at the moment. Might be Zinchenko's last few games here in an Arsenal shirt. There were Newcastle, quite a good looking team, but hopefully at home we can win this game and give ourselves a chance of jumping above Liverpool and going back on top of the Premier League table. And 5 minutes into this one, we get our first highlight. Newcastle here are on the ball and trying to do something in their blue with the gold shorts today. Skip will play that one over to Min Jae, the former Napoli centre-back. Now Christian Eriksen plays that one forward to the Georgian wing. A good chance here for O'Reilly, but thankfully one of our defenders there gets a good foot in and Ramsdale makes the save. So still 0-0. Coming up to the 10-minute mark, and off the back of that, we are now down the other end for a throw-in of our own. Tomiyasu will find Ødegaard. Jesus inside the box. Back for Ødegaard. Makes his way into the centre of the box. He puts that one away. I say the box. Centre of the field. Beats our former goalkeeper both here and at Cardiff. And Daniel Langley. Very surprised to see him starting this game. Didn't actually pick up on that before. That could be a big influence in this game, because he's had a 5.5 rating, I think, when he did used to step out for Cardiff. Didn't step out since he joined Arsenal. That is a bit of an issue. Maybe Newcastle have some goalkeeping injuries, but we don't mind. We go 1-0 up, just shy of the 10-minute mark, and not too long off the back of that, we are now down the other end as Zinchenko is on the ball inside the box. He gets fouled there by Gomez. It looked very innocuous, but Craig Pawson has blown a penalty. We'll see if it does get upheld. I do think still I haven't actually changed the penalty takers off camera in the menus, and indeed I haven't, so we'll just sort this out. So Coop Miners is going to take this one again after what did happen, seeing as he put one away during the course of yesterday's episode. And now that we've sorted that out, he should be on this penalty. He can hopefully put this one away and give us a nice early 2-0 lead against a Newcastle team. And of course our former goalkeeper in Daniel Langley. He sends him the wrong way. If I had known Langley was in goal for this game, might not have come back for it, but truth be told, I haven't quite got as far as I was hoping to in between episodes, and we were going to come back for this game with Newcastle being inside the top 4, but Langley could be a big weakness. 2-0 just past the 20-minute mark. And a few minutes off the back of that goal through the penalty, we are now down the other end for a throw-in to Newcastle, and Kulusevski makes his way into the final third, albeit poor pass there looking for Gomez, and we do pick it out, albeit they play it forward. We can't win it, then they play it forward. Saliba wins it back for us in the air, so a little bit of ping-pong there eerily as teams do look to control possession. Good work there though from Martinelli to play that one down for Jesus. Gets it back, makes his way down that left-hand side, back for Patino. 1-2. Now on the edge of the box, starts to cut inside. We'll try and put that one top right corner. Doesn't test the goalkeeper, which is probably all we need to do today. Still 2-0 coming up to the 30-minute mark. And with about 10 minutes to go in this first half, there has been a highlight off the back of me adjusting some opposition instructions. We do get the ball back here and start to make our way forward. Saka will find Tomiyasu and a little bit of space down this right-hand side, plays that all the way back to Saliba. Thankfully, does keep possession, was under a bit of pressure there from a Newcastle player, and we do still look to play out from the back. Now Bamba up for Patino, back again for Bamba, start to make our way forward now. Jesus will find Tomiyasu down that right-hand side, back in there for Coop Miners. Patino all the way back yet again for Bamba, so this one is a long highlight. Hopefully something does come from it. Patino up for Martinelli. Now Erdegaard, one of the goal scorers. Coop Miners will find Tomiyasu in space. Bukayo Saka over the top for Martinelli. Gets in behind, puts that one bottom right corner. And I'm pretty sure he was onside in this game. Could be all over already inside the first half. 3-0 against Newcastle. Daniel Langley, don't know if he's much at fault for that one, but it is a well-worked goal. Obviously, they're a lot weaker in that position today. Must be an injury, because why else would you start Langley? But we go 3-0 up, about 10 minutes shy of halftime. And in fact, we get another highlight here starting from the restart off the back of making it 3-0. And Newcastle here will be looking to find a way back into this game, albeit might be too little too late already. And Jesus wins the ball back for us there. We'll try and pick out Saka, can't, but Tomiyasu heads it back down to him, so we are still in position and back on the attack. Saliba up to Saka. Nice ball over for Gabriel Jesus. Langley comes out to try and get that. He is woeful. Why did they buy him from us? And that makes it 4-0. It's still shy of the 40-minute mark. This could be a long day at the office for Newcastle, and a very encouraging result against the team currently in a Champions League spot. We'll see how long that does last if they continue to start Langley all over Newcastle here, just shy of halftime. And inside injury time in this first half, there is one more highlight. Yet again, it starts off here with a free kick to Newcastle, but they try and play that one in behind. We control it in our defence. We boot that one deep. Oliver skipped there a bit loose, trying to control that header, but eventually does get the ball back, and it might be a chance here for Kvaratskhelia. And to be fair, forces a decent save there out of Ramsdale, still 4-0. Just shy of halftime, they do have a corner, which Eriksson is going to put into the mixer. Can we hold on to our clean sheet before halftime? We do deal with that. Eriksson back into the mix. They put that one down for Kulusevski from a tight angle. We block that one. It goes out for yet another corner, but it does look like hopefully we'll go into the sheds here with a 4-0 lead. Patino has picked up a yellow card though in the second half, so he'll probably come off at halftime, I should say, in the first half before the second half. But we do deal with that danger late in that first one. A very comprehensive display so far. 4-0 up, and it should be 3 more points in the Premier League. Hopefully, does mean that maybe we can sneak above Liverpool with that game in hand. As I said, we'll make a substitution here at halftime. Sambi Lokonga can come on for Patino, but apart from that, very happy with how this one is going. We'll get things back underway with that 4-0 lead against Daniel Langley, really struggling in goal for Newcastle. And just past the 50-minute mark, we get our first highlight here of the second half. It is a throw-in for Newcastle. Kakache will throw that one in. They do keep possession here, looking to play out from the back and try and restore some credibility to the scoreline, because so far it has been completely one-way traffic apart from those highlights we did see late in that first half. A good save there from Ramsdale from a shot from the Georgian winger, but apart from that, we have well and truly been on the front foot, and we do look now to play out from the back after they did give possession away, albeit big chance here for Madison, but thankfully Bamba will get in the way of that one. It was a bit iffy, but we eventually clear our lines, still 4-0 up, 10 minutes in to the second half. And shortly off the back of that first highlight of the second half, there is another. This time we are down the right end of the field, albeit Martinelli briefly lost position there, but thankfully Sambi Lokonga did recover it for us and get us somewhat back on the front foot. Now Coop Miners forward to Tomiyasu will pick out Martinelli. I think that took a deflection, just looking at the fact that Min Jae is highlighted. It finds the bottom right corner. Martinelli with his second goal of the game, I believe. That makes it 5-0. This is an absolute cakewalk, this one against the team I was expecting a much tougher test against. And as you can see, it does take a decent deflection, that one, not much that Langley can do. And in fact, off the back of that fifth goal, I think it's time for us to make some substitutions to make sure some of these injury-prone players or ones on a heavy workload do get a rest with the scoreline the way it is. So we'll bring on Kamara for Saliba at the back. Barrea can come on for Gabriel Jesus up front. We'll give him a well-earned rest also. We'll take off Martinelli, even though he's on a hat-trick. Is still quite injury-prone. It will be Trincao coming on for him, and Carvalho for Bukayo Saka, still somewhat coming back from that injury from a few episodes ago. There'll be all our subs used off the back of going 5-0 up. And we're into injury time in this game, and in fact nothing has happened off the back of those last few substitutions. I say that there was a highlight around the 77-minute mark which was in favour of Newcastle. Didn't really test our goalkeepers. I didn't think there'd be much point in showing you guys that one. As you can see, Langley with a 5.5. He is just a woeful goalkeeper, exactly why he's been the first sale that we have made when we did come to both Cardiff and Arsenal, but that is a very good result. Obviously, things did slow up off the back of those mass substitutions at the hour mark, but by then we did have the game well under control, pick up a very convincing 5-0 win over a team currently in the Champions League place and in the Champions League in real life. Maybe they're saving some players up for that final match day. Maybe they're in a position where they do definitely need to win on that final match day, and for now we do go back on top of the Premier League table, albeit Liverpool might be playing later on this match day, but that is a very convincing win, 5-0 over Newcastle. We'll come back shortly and preview our Champions League game against Celtic and the ramifications if we don't pick up maximum points. And back in the inbox getting ready for the second game in today's episode. As you can see, in terms of the Premier League, Liverpool did win their game that they were playing on that same match day, and quite a good run of form are back above us, but we do still have that one game in hand. So technically you could argue we might still be on top of the Premier League for now, but as long as we do get some points from that game in hand, we should be okay with our goal differential. But it does look like it might be a title challenge between those two teams for the rest of this season. But next up for us today, we are taking on Celtic in the Champions League phase. As I said, there's a bit going on here. I thought we were going to get into a position we would already be locked into a top 8 spot going into this final match day, but all the way down to 11th, they could go above us if we don't pick up a win from this game, and they do. So there's definitely a bit riding on this game for us, but also quite a few other teams near the top of that table. As I've said previously, if you finish in that top 8, you go straight through to the round of 16. Don't have to play in the first knockout round, so hopefully that is what we can do and stay exactly where we are, as we are about to take on a Celtic team who are struggling quite a bit, all the way down in 25th, albeit they are doing better than our former club in Cardiff. And it's one of the few cases in the Champions League where we are taking on a team from a nation that is loaded into the game league-wise, because of course Scotland was one of the options that we could have gone to in this save, but none of their clubs did come after us once we did make the jump to Cardiff. A little bit surprising that neither Celtic or Rangers did come after us while we were actually at Cardiff, because that job did open up a few times. In the end, we made the jump to Arsenal, but this should be a team we are capable of beating, albeit there are some quite familiar names in their lineup, some former Premier League players who could give us a little bit of a hard time, but hopefully this is a game we can win and make sure that we do skip that first knockout round and make our way straight through to the round of 16. And still just that one major injury concern going into this game with Pere out. Also, Sambi Lukonga, though, does have a cold, so he won't feature. It does mean that Patino is going to have to front up for quite a while in this game, potentially, alongside Coop Miners in the midfield, but we'll come back shortly and run through the team sheets, listen to that nice Champions League music, as hopefully we can pick up a win and stay inside that top 8 to make sure we skip that first knockout round as we take on Celtic from the Emirates. And here are the team sheets for this last game of the league phase of the Champions League. We're exactly as we was for the previous game, apart from the fact that Tierney is back at left back. He has recovered from that injury susceptibility problem that he had. Also, Tomiyasu, though, has that exact same problem that Tierney had, which does mean that Singo will start at right back. Otherwise, though, we are at full strength. Actually, quite an interesting looking Celtic team there, with some players like Lucas Hernandez in that lineup, but hopefully we can pick up a win here, as I said. Make sure we make our way straight through to that round of 16. And just past the 15-minute mark, we get our first highlight in this game. It is a free kick which Singos tries to put on target. That one does go wide, still nil. All the only other thing that's happened so far, Patino has picked up a yellow card, which might mean we take him off at half-time. But a pretty quiet game so far, still locked up at 0-0. And with only a few minutes left in this first half, we eventually get one more highlight. But so far, this has been a very dour game. Not much happening in Celtic. Do lose the ball out there. Good work from Singo, and now Jesus is on the ball. Nice one there for Martinelli. Does get in behind, but unfortunately the Celtic defender does recover. It does go out for a corner, which Martinelli does look like he is going to take. Can he put this one far post for Bamba to try and put us 1-0 up right before the break? Unfortunately, Sanchez heads that one away, but it does mean yet again we will have a corner. 1 minute of added time. This time it is going to be Odegaard on the corner from the other side. We'll try and put this one far post yet again for Bamba, but that one goes over the bar. And I think that is going to do it for the first half. We have well and truly been on the front foot, but unfortunately our shots on target, not that threatening. Hopefully we can get one at some stage during that second half to make sure we are locked in to that round of 16. We might actually make a few changes here at halftime. Gabriel Jesus was the one injury concern going into this game, so we might take him off for Trincao and put Martinelli up front for the second half, and also Patino on that yellow card. We do have options on the bench, albeit with Sambi Lokonga out, not as many as we would like. And to be fair, Kamara, probably a bit more natural in that deep lying playmaker role. So I think we'll actually bring on Kamara for the second half in the midfield and hopefully get our act into gear and pick up a win to make sure we go straight into that round of 16. And only a few minutes into the second half, we get our first highlight here. It is a throw-in for Celtic. They try and loop that one over the top of Kieran Tierney, but thankfully he does recover that one from Piccolo, and now we play that one out to Singo in a bit of space down that right-hand side. Coop Miners now on the ball as we switch things back out somewhat to the left. Trincao starts to cut inside, picks out Saka. Lots of space there for Singo. Coop Miners, though, will pick out Trincao down this left-hand side. It's been very good for us when we have used him over Martinelli down that left wing. Some good short passing. Kamara with a shot, comes off the post, falls very kindly for Odegaard, who just taps that one home oh so gently, and we eventually take a 1-0 lead, and that would be enough for us to qualify for the round of 16 immediately. It's taken a wee while in this game, especially considering our dominance, but Kamara off of the bench, a good effort at Odegaard. That shot was somewhat blocked, but thankfully just makes its way over the line before the goalkeeper can make a save, and we eventually take a 1-0 lead. And we've just entered the last 20 minutes of this game. We eventually get one more highlight in the second half. It's a free kick for Odegaard, and a dangerous spot gets him help from the underside of the crossbar, but still, that is a wonderful free kick. He picks up a double. Manchester City, 2-0 down to Milan. They could be in some trouble. Might have to play in that first knockout round, but that should not be the case for us now as we grab a cushion goal here at the Emirates, and I think we should be safe now with only 20 minutes left. With that in mind, we'll make our last batch of substitutions. We'll bring on Yakubu for Saliba, who is often injury prone. Also, we might take off Martinelli for Barrera up front, another player who often is injury prone. And also, Coop Miners was on a heavy workload going into this game, so Ugarte will come on for him. Those will be all our subs with 20 minutes left off the back of us going 2-0 up. And with around about 10 minutes to go in this one, it's a late free kick here for Celtic, which they try and put top right corner. Thankfully, that one does miss the target. Could have given them a chance there to get back in this game. And only 1 minute later, we give them one more chance once their teammate does eventually get out of the way of Rodriguez. This one, a much more dangerous position. That one does hit the side netting, but thankfully also goes wide. That might have been their chances. Still 2-0 with just under 10 minutes left. And we're just entering the last few minutes of this game. In the end, it was a fairly comfortable 2-0 win. A few scary moments at the end there with Celtic having some free kicks, but thankfully Martin Odegaard with some goals there in that second half. One was a tap-in, the other a very well taken free kick, and we do the job that was expected of us, albeit if we did drop points in that game, that could have made things quite interesting for the knockout stages. That is the reason we did come back for that game instead of the Bournemouth one, like we did say at the end of yesterday's episode. Also Celtic, probably a bit of a bigger team than Bournemouth, with all due respect to our English opposition, and that is what the table does look like. As we suspected, that loss that Man City did suffer to Milan does mean that they have dropped outside of that top 8. So as I said, if we didn't pick up a win in that game, we would have actually dropped outside. So quite an important game that we did come back for. Thankfully though, we eventually scored in that second half and we end up 4th on the table. We'll go straight through to the round of 16 alongside Milan, who top it, with Liverpool, Newcastle, PSG, Bayern, Inter and Barcelona also skipping that round, and we'll make our way down the table so you can see the other teams who will be in the knockouts. Those are the teams down between 9th and 24th. And unfortunately, Cardiff is not one of those teams. They just finished behind Celtic, who did end up in 27th, so not a good time for Cardiff in the Champions League this season, albeit most of that work, I believe, was done by one Mikel Arteta. But we make our way straight through to the round of 16 off the back of an important 2-0 win over Celtic. We'll come back shortly and get stuck in to deadline day. So thankfully we go straight through to the round of 16 in the Champions League for next season. It does mean though we have to wait a little while until we do know who we are playing in that round. But to end today's episode, we are going to get through deadline day, where we might look potentially, if we have enough money and find someone good enough, to find a replacement for what does seem to be the outgoing Alexander Zinchenko to Real Madrid. There you can see the deadline day rumours. I can tell you right now, we are not signing any of those players on that list because they all cost far more than what is currently in our transfer budget, and we are only getting 7.5 million for Zinchenko. But we will take part and see if we do any business here on deadline day and just make sure that Zinchenko does eventually make his way to Real Madrid. And it appears a snag has been hit in those contract negotiations for that £7.5 million deal between Zinchenko and Real Madrid. It was definitely the deal I would have preferred, but now Real Madrid have decided we'll take him on a free at the end of the season instead. So maybe it does mean we don't need to recall that left winger / left back currently out at Crystal Palace on loan, but it might also mean we get no money for Zinchenko at the end of the season. Real Madrid still after him, but now at the end of the current season on a free transfer, just like we did with Kylian Mbappe. And indeed, Zinchenko has agreed to joining them at the end of the season, albeit for some reason it does say there he's going to join them on the 1st of February, which is one day from now. That does seem a little bit weird, so I'm not too sure if this is the transfer or a free, because I'm not too sure why he would be able to join them on the 1st of February if it was a free transfer, being under contract with us here at Arsenal until the end of the season. But Alexander Zinchenko is going to join Real Madrid. Just some doubt as to exactly when that's going to happen. If it's a free transfer, it better not be on the 1st of February. And all that Zinchenko carry on was the only business that did happen in relation to Arsenal there on deadline day, so not going to spend too long on it in today's episode. But the other bit of business that we did do, just in case for some reason he is leaving on the next day, because that still hasn't gone through, as that transfer apparently goes through on the 1st of February, hopefully for a transfer fee. Otherwise, what is going on? But we have brought back that player on loan from Crystal Palace just in case he does leave tomorrow, so that we do have some more depth in that left back position in behind Kieran Tierney. So it does mean that Bojan Vaskovic is in our squad now. Highly promising player who was previously out on loan at Crystal Palace. I do think he was playing there as a left winger, but should do a decent job for us as a wing back and has very high potential as well. So based on that, probably would have been better than anyone that we could have signed on deadline day anyway. So Vaskovic comes in. We'll just see what the story is with this deal for Zinchenko going to Real Madrid. And we've gone for one day, and for some reason, Real Madrid have pulled the sneakiest deal I've ever seen on Football Manager and taken a player off us for no money while he was still under contract with us. If you've had this happen to you before, let me know down in the comments, because this looks really dodgy. I could have used him for the rest of the season if he was still here. The only reason we did transfer list him was because his contract was expiring at the end of June. How Real Madrid have managed to get him on the 1st of February, I don't know. I do realise that the Spanish clubs these days are in some tough financial situations, but that is some dodgy BS, that one. I would have rather preferred the 7.5 million. That was the only way I wanted to get rid of him in this transfer window. Somehow they've got him on a free transfer. I don't know how that's happened. So I might have stuffed up there, but I'm not too sure how, because it did say he was going to join them at the 30th of June. Then when he accepted the deal, it was on the 1st of February. Yeah, I'm not too happy about that one, but that is how we're going to leave things for today's episode. Zinchenko has left us somehow on a free transfer in February instead of the end of the season. But thankfully we did bring in Vaskovic from Crystal Palace. I still do have some depth in that position. But Zinchenko, definitely a better player. The fans aren't happy, and I'm not happy either. Don't know how that's happened. Yeah, I'm a bit confused by that one, but that will do it for today's episode. We pick up 2 wins over Newcastle and Celtic. We are not quite back on top of the Premier League, but have that game in hand, and also make our way straight through to the round of 16 in the Champions League. If you did enjoy that episode, also confirming the signing for next season of Kylian Mbappe. I suppose there's a silver lining to every cloud, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. We'll come back tomorrow and play a few games in February. Definitely the Liverpool game, a top of the table clash at Anfield that could be massive for who does win the Premier League this season if we continue to pick up points in the games off the back of that. But as well as that, we take on Cardiff at home, but truth be told, Cardiff still last on the Premier League table. Yeah, they're in trouble, it's fair to say, so I think we'll skip that game and might actually take on Stoke in the 4th round of the FA Cup. That is the cup competition that the board do care about, and Stoke were a team that did give us some trouble when we were at Cardiff City at times. These days, though, are down in the Championship, so we'll come back and take on Stoke in the FA Cup and Liverpool in a big, hopefully still top of the table clash in the Premier League in tomorrow's episode. Before the day after that, we play our first cup final of the save. We take on Manchester United in the EFL Cup. So until tomorrow, for Stoke and Liverpool, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.